Hello there everyone. Just before starting this video, or in this case the review, I just want to say I am a bit sorry for being inactive. Of course, as you may know, I had to go take exams, obviously because yeah. Sorry for that. But anyways, I've been planning on doing this review for a bit of a while. Also, I'm leaving a post in my, of course, post section. So you guys get to vote for what the next video is gonna be. So you guys get to tell me what video I should do next if you guys want me to actually do it or not in this case. So either way, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna actually say because technically it's gonna now it's ending the June, and I took this long just to make a video. So I am a bit sorry for the little delaying. I am sorry about that, but I did actually put a post that I was doing exams, but generally a lot of you guys don't see. But okay, either way, um, I don't know what am I gonna say now, but I hope you just sit back and enjoy this review of Burnout 2 I am gonna do now. So yeah, enjoy. Okay, now we are in the review. Let's begin, shall we? So, I'm now doing a review on Burnout 2, obviously. So, anyways, today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite franchises, Burnout. Of course, considering the fact I did technically do a review on both Burnout 1, Burnout Legends, Burnout Paradise Remaster, and Burnout 3 and Revenge. Well, I don't know if I actually said 3 before. But anyways, we are now doing a review on, of course, Burnout 2 Point of Impact. This one is actually kind of one of my favorites in the Burnout franchise. Mostly because this one isn't really much mentioned by a lot because a lot of people grew up with Burnout 3. So either way, yeah. Now it's time we go into some history of this game. Burnout 2 was released in 2002 by Criterion Games and Acclaim Entertainment. Well, published by Acclaim because this was the last Burnout game to actually be published. Now, also the console this game it was first made for PS2 in 2002 and was released a year later for GameCube in 2003 and for OG Xbox. The OG Xbox port had its own director's cut version which had basically exclusive paint jobs for cars, more crash junctions. However, as you can see, of course, currently right now, Xbox emulation on a phone is not possible. But as you can see, I'm using texture mods that were from somebody I saw. So I'm using these texture mods. So don't start questioning on like Timmy64, how did you get it in the PS2 version? Just remember I'm just using texture mods, so either way. But anyways, now, I'm gonna go into the controls of the cars. Of course, depending on what version you played, it's very different. Of course, I have technically showcased gameplay, but today of the GameCube version. But today we're doing something different. We're doing the PS2 review. Now, basically, the controls for this version are a bit different, of course, as usual for most of these Burnout games. So here are the controls. X button is used to accelerate. Square button is used to brake. The, I guess, circle button is used for your horn. The triangle button is used to change your camera. R1 button is used to basically use your boost. And log stick can be used to steer the vehicle. And I don't know what the other buttons function for. Of course, the D-pad can also be used to steer. And start button can be used to basically pause the game. So yeah, now we are going to look into the graphics. For Burnout 2 here, the graphics do not look too bad. I mean, it may not be advanced as its other games like Burnout 3, but it's not too bad for the most part. The graphics are average, if I had to put them in a simpler way. They do not seem too ugly, neither don't seem like the best. It's just overall good. However, I have technically seen the GameCube version is far superior than the PS2 version. But there are a few things like the sun glare. The PS2 version actually has sun glare, but the GameCube version doesn't. Probably due to mostly the disk space, because you pretty much know PS2 was almost able to hold 4 gigabytes on a disk, while the GameCube was only able to hold 1.5 gigabytes on its mini disk. But either way, yeah. Next is gameplay wise. Burnout 2 offers a lot of things: the championship mode, crash mode, and also the pursuit mode. If you don't know what pursuit mode is, it is a mode where you play as a cop and you have to chase down a driver. This is something like sort of like road rage, but not in the sense of you basically take down multiple cars, but rather you just taking down one vehicle. Well, for the most part, Crash mode, of course, if you are very familiar with this mode, is basically you have to crash into a junction and cause as much chaos as possible and basically get a gold medal, which this was the first Burnout game to introduce that. Of course, the championships here are the main focus on the game. Now, after you complete the normal championships, you get the custom championship, which has basically a bunch of tuned versions of your cars. Sometimes the supercar, the most iconic one, the custom coupe ultimate, and much more. So yeah. Now the next is also kind of want to go into the models. I did kind of go into graphics, but the models and the looks. The car models do not look too bad for this game. The maps I actually genuinely like about Burnout too. There's just something so charming about these maps. It just make it so like the US or something. Of course, Burnout 2 here wanted to mostly focus on US maps more than European maps, which I'm glad they kind of did because the European maps were absolute nightmares. But either way, yeah. Now, there's nothing much now. I technically did not just cover the gameplay. Now we go into the handling of the vehicles. The handling is not too bad. I mean, it generally reminds you a lot of Burnout 3 or Burnout 2's Burnout 1, sorry about that. But yeah, the handling is not too bad. Plus, this game does technically run at 60 FPS. So, either way. Now, it's also time we go into the soundtrack. Sadly, Burnout 2 does not have an official soundtrack, but the soundtrack itself is basically these are made up tracks, but they're surprisingly good for a game like this. The best part to come out of it is basically whenever you basically active your boost, the music itself plays a different version of its own track. Basically, when Criterion was making the game, they kind of did this thing whenever you basically put up the boost, like active the boost button, the music goes more intense and much more greater, which this was a thing that the Burnout team actually did. Now also basically for boost here, you have to now fill up your boost meter like as usual. But this time it's basically about burnouts. Well, not actually a burnout on you using your handbrake or if you're suffering from one, but rather one that you actually have to do. If you keep continuously driving crazy, you'll actually get much more. Crashing in this game looks much more better compared to the previous one. I mean, these crashes are just average. They're not like in the middle of, they're not too chaotic than Burnout 3. They're just overall good. Traffic wise, I do kind of still find annoying, but either way, I can get used to it. Now, next is on basically the availability of this game. Now, basically, this game never had a PC port, so I'll give it probably a 4 or 5 out of 10. The only best way to emulate this is via an emulator on your PC or phone, thanks either PCSX2, XEMU emulator. However, I would not really recommend XEMU since Burnout 2 has a bit of a history on running either 30 or 40 frames on that emulator. So I would not recommend doing that. Or you can emulate Dolphin, the version on Dolphin emulator. So yeah. Now, what do I think of this game? As a 13-year-old Gen Alpha here, born in 2013. But either way, would it be really worth to get this game? I mean, if you want to look at something different in the Burnout series, then I guess you can play this one. I mean, it's not too difficult in Burnout 1. Neither it's not too chaotic and too much emo pop punk. Basically, the soundtrack in Burnout 3, but it's overall good. I personally describe this as illegal street racing, but with cars. Well, basically unlicensed cars, since as you know, Burnout has been known for using unlicensed cars for almost the nearly last 18 years. So either way, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of me talking about Burnout 2 Point of Impact for, of course, the PS2, GameCube, and OG Xbox. So yeah, I guess that's it. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please consider on like subscribing. Make sure to go to posts and you guys get to vote on what I should do next. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video and bye bye.